Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 338 based on novel. So let's start. As Tuo Sen's laughter echoed, the entire world changed color. The endless blood sea began to rage and release angry roars. Tuo Sen's red hair flowed as he tore the sky once more with a ferocious smile. The crack in the sky was ripped open, making it several times larger. From a glance, it seemed to go across the entire sky. This was like a piece of cloth being ripped down the middle and divided into two pieces. At this instant, the cultivators in the blood sea charged into the sky. Under Tuo Sen's command, they went into the crack and entered the void. Tuo Sen's right hand reached back and the sea of blood let out a heaven-shaking roar. It was as if an unimaginable force had appeared, and the endless sea of blood rose into air and shot toward the crack in the sky. As the blood sea moved, it turned into a massive ancient blood dragon that was large enough to cover the sky. It rushed into the crack with the ancient cultivators. When the large amounts of ancient cultivators charged into the void, a bloodbath began. All of this was because of one thing Tuo Sen said when they walked out from the crack. "I want this land of the ancient god to be filled with the fragrance of blood." None of these ancient cultivators were weak, but they all had Tuo Sen's seals inside them, so they couldn't display their full power. After all, Tuo Sen had numerous seals that needed to be transferred to these cultivators. Often, multiple cultivators were needed for one seal, and not many could withstand one seal on their own. However, in the past 1,000+ years, the seals had constantly weakened. Tuo Sen was recovering faster and faster, so the seals on his body had weakened. Along with that, the seals he had placed on the ancient cultivators also weakened. As a result, they were much more powerful than they were the first time Wang Lin came here. The void was filled with red shadows. The ancient cultivators that came out from the blood sea were like dragons coming out of the sea. Their eyes were filled with bloodthirst and absolute calmness. They began a slaughter in the void according to Tuo Sen's order. As long as they encountered a cultivator, no matter what side they were from, they were all prey for the red-robed ancient cultivators. If it was just them, it would have been impossible to begin a bloodbath in the void filled with cultivators. However, the blood dragon had earth-shattering spells, and its appearance caused the void to be filled with boundless pressure. The blood dragon's large body was 100,000 feet long and it was very majestic. If one was too close, they would tremble from just looking at it. Cultivators were like ants to it. As the blood dragon roared, it moved through the void. Every time it moved, the blood light would flash and light up the void as sonic booms echoed. It didn't need to use any spells, as it moved at an unimaginable speed and all the cultivators before it would just die. At this moment, a group of sect cultivators were besieging a red-robed ancient cultivator when a monstrous, red light appeared in the distance. Before anyone could react, a gust of wind caused these cultivators to become unsteady and stagger back a few steps. At this moment, a giant red dragon head appeared across the horizon. No one could clearly see its face, because it was too fast. The moment these cultivators' pupils shrank, the giant head arrived. The cultivators in front couldn't even dodge before the dragon head smashed into them. They suddenly felt like they were hit by a cultivation planet, and their bodies exploded with a bang into a pile of flesh. Then they exploded once more into a mist of blood. Not even their origin souls were able to escape at all and were pulled into the blood dragon through a mysterious force. The remaining cultivators were about to dodge, but the bloodlight filled their vision. The giant dragon head swept by them, and at the same time, the dragon's giant body appeared before the eyes of all the cultivators. This was the last thing they saw in their lives. As the dragon's body swept by, all the cultivators in the area died. Although all of this sounds slow, it only took 3 breaths of time. The sonic boom that lagged behind the dragon only arrived after this area was filled with blood mist. It wasn't just the cultivators of the sect, none of the cultivators that encountered the blood dragon survived. Their bodies all collapsed, and their origin souls were absorbed by the blood dragon. The blood dragon swept around the edge of the void at an unimaginable speed. More than 1,000 cultivators had died to it already. Its body was longer than 100,000 feet and gave off a shocking pressure. It pondered a bit before it let out a roar and charged into the inner area. It was so fast, you could only see a flash of bloodlight, but it was impossible to clearly see the dragon. Deep within the void, the 8 kings of the corpse sect were flying through the void as 8 rays of light. They were chasing for ancient cultivators. No matter how hard they tried to escape, they couldn't escape the pursuit of these 8 people. The 8 kings of the corpse sect all looked to be of varying ages, but without exception, they all had cold expressions and their faces were deathly pale, as if they were dead people. However, the power they revealed was heaven-shaking. Along the way, the 8 of them didn't separate. Whenever they encountered ancient cultivators, the ancient cultivators were immediately sealed and captured by the 8 of them. Right now, the 4 ancient cultivators that were escaping didn't run for long before their bodies began to twitch and slow down. In the end, one of the 8 kings waved their sleeves and was about to collect these 4 ancient cultivators. However, just at this moment, a blood-red light covered the void. Their expressions immediately changed and they looked up. With their cultivation levels, they naturally saw the giant blood dragon coming toward them. This blood dragon was too large, even for these 8 people, and their pupils shrank when they saw it. A purple-haired old man quickly shouted, "Set the 4th corpse formation." The 8 of them didn't hesitate to down and form a seal. The 8 of them moved at the same time and a cold energy suddenly appeared. This cold energy increased like crazy and quickly formed a piece of black ice. The ice crystal grew and grew, and in the blink of an eye, it turned into an ice giant more than 1,000 feet tall. The moment the giant took shape, the 8 people inside the abdomen suddenly moved. 1 person remained in the abdomen, 1 went to the left arm, 1 went to the right arm, 2 went to the legs, 1 went to the chest, and the last 2 went to the head to become the eyes of the giant. At this instant, the giant's eyes released a ghostly light as if it had awakened. An indescribable power erupted from this giant. At this moment, the blood dragon whistled through the void and smashed directly into the ice giant. Rumble, rumble, rumble. A heaven-shaking sound echoed with this place as the center and shocked all the cultivators here. At this moment, all the cultivators inside the void felt this vibration and looked over with terrified gazes. The blood dragon and the ice giant collided. The ice giant opened its arms and held the mouth of the dragon. The ice giant was forced back over 10,000 feet. Popping sounds echoed and large amounts of cracks appeared on the ice giant. The 2 people in the arms coughed out blood, but their expressions became even more ferocious. Letting out a roar, the ice giant's right leg took a step back and a large amount of ice fell off. However, the leg didn't collapse, it completely stopped the dragon from pushing it back more. The moment when all 8 of the people inside formed a seal and let out a roar, a powerful force rushed out from the ice giant. The ice giant grabbed the dragon's head and mercilessly threw it to the side. The blood dragon let out a roar as soon as it was thrown. However, the dragon didn't stop, it swept its tail straight at the ice giant. A thunderous rumble echoed once more and even more cracks appeared on the ice giant. The blood dragon waved its head. Even at such close distance, it was still able to reach the same speed as before. It charged out and smashed into the ice giant. Heaven-shaking rumbles continued and even more ice fell. The expressions of the 8 people inside became even more gloomy. Just at this moment, the eyes of the old man at the abdomen released a ghostly glow and he shouted, "Set the 3rd corpse formation." His voice echoed inside the ice giant and entered the ears of the remaining 7 cultivators. Just at this moment, the blood dragon slammed into the ice giant again and the ice giant flew back like a kite with a broke string. The head of the dragon was a mess. It was obvious that these continuous collisions were difficult for even it to bear. However, the fierce dragon's eyes were red and it charged once more. It was as if it wouldn't give up until this ice giant collapsed. The ice giant that was thrown back folded its arms and curled up its knees so its whole body was like a ball. The ice rapidly fused together, and it only took an instant for the transform from the 4th corpse formation into the 3rd corpse formation. What appeared before the blood dragon was no longer the ice giant but a giant ball of ice. What was terrifying were the countless sharp edges that appeared on the ball of ice. They gave off a dark blue glow and seemed to contain a powerful poison. At this moment, Wang Lin had a gloomy expression as he moved through the void. There were 3 ancient cultivators in red with cold gazes chasing him. The moment the blood dragon charged in, the ice ball no longer retreated. Under the control of the 8 kings of the corpse sect, the ball of ice charged at the blood dragon. Both were getting closer and closer. In the blink of an eye, they collided. A thunderous rumble echoed across the sky. The moment the ball of ice collided with the dragon, it was as if it had collided with a cultivation planet. It immediately shattered and exploded into 8 pieces. However, the moment it exploded, a powerful force came from the explosion and collided with the head of the blood dragon. Roar! The blood dragon let out a roar of intense pain. Its giant body trembled and retreated rapidly. Its body was originally made of blood and was blood red. However, right now a ghostly light appeared around its body. Crackling sounds echoed wherever the ghostly light passed. It was as if this blood dragon was going to be completely sealed. The dragon quickly escaped as its painful roars still echoed. The 8 dark ice pieces that split off from the ball of ice quickly melted, revealing the 8 kings. However, when the 7th piece of ice melted, a crack appeared on the forehead of the middle-aged man. The crack soon extended across his entire body as if he was being split in 2. In an instant, his body collapsed and cold energy came out. The energy took human form and silently looked at the surrounding 7 people. This body couldn't withstand the power just now. Just as he spoke, an old man among the other 7 reached out at the void and a crack to a storage space appeared. A purple coffin with patterns carved on it immediately flew out. The figure formed by cold energy penetrated the coffin and went inside. A moment later, the lid of the coffin was blown open and a boy around 7 or 8 years old slowly sat up. After the boy got up, he moved his body and then nodded at the 7 people beside him. The old man that took out the coffin said decisively, "Chase." The 8 of them didn't hesitate to turn into rays of light and chase after the blood dragon. As for Wang Lin, he followed the blood ripple and charged at the source. However, when he arrived, there was nothing there but traces of terrifying fluctuations that hinted that a fierce battle had been fought here. Wang Lin didn't stay for too long and quickly changed directions. Before he moved very fast, he suddenly felt a ripple expanding endlessly inside this void. This vibration was not familiar to others, but Wang Lin clearly remembered that the void had trembled like this when Tuo Sen stepped out from the blood sea in the past. The vibration quickly disappeared, but more than 100 terrifying auras appeared. Wang Lin's scalp felt numb and he quickly ran from where the terrifying aura was coming from. However, just at this moment, 3 rays of light appeared from the void. They immediately spotted Wang Lin and chased after him. These 3 red shadows were all ancient cultivators. 2 of them were at the early stage of Nirvana Cleanser. The last person had the highest cultivation level, peak Nirvana Cleanser, just 1 step away from Nirvana Shatterer. Wang Lin reached into the void with his right hand. He took out a yellow talisman from his storage space and placed it on his chest. A whirlwind surrounded his body and he disappeared into the distance. He immediately created a gap between him and them. Wang Lin's expression was gloomy. He knew that lot of ancient cultivators had been released when the blood sea opened. These ancient cultivators' cultivation levels were like heaven and hell compared to before. It was completely unreasonable. However, thinking about how this involved Tuo Sen, it was not something Wang Lin could understand. Tuo Sen should be coming out soon. As Wang Lin flew, hundreds of ideas flew through his head. His divine sense spread out behind him and he immediately frowned. The ancient cultivators had used some unknown method and their speed had increased greatly. Although the distance between them and Wang Lin was still growing, they were still chasing him. 2 early stage Nirvana Cleanser. A peak Nirvana Cleanser. After a while, killing intent appeared in Wang Lin's eyes. If this continued and he encountered more ancient cultivators ahead, he would be in danger of a pincer attack. After scanning the area with his divine sense, Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he suddenly stopped. He turned around, his hands formed a seal, and his eyes turned cold. In the blink of an eye, the images of volcanoes appeared around Wang Lin. As his hands moved, celestial origin energy was injected into the surrounding volcanoes, and they became even more solid. When they were about to become completely solid, Wang Lin waved his hand and all those volcanoes disappeared. This place is dangerous, so I must finish this battle as soon as possible. Wang Lin looked up and saw 3 rays of red light closing in on him. The one closest was the old man who was at the peak of the Nirvana cleanser stage. The old man was the fastest, so he immediately closed in. Wang Lin narrowed his eyes and took a step back. He then raised his right hand and shouted, "Stop!" With one word, law appeared in the world. The peak Nirvana cleanser old man felt countless wires appear out of thin air and entangle him. He immediately paused for a moment. Wang Lin's cultivation level was, after all, only early-stage Nirvana cleanser, so he immediately experienced backlash, but this kind of damage was something he could suppress. He immediately retreated. The peak Nirvana cleanser cultivator paused, but the other 2 behind him were also fast and immediately closed in. When they were within 1,000 feet of Wang Lin, a flash of killing intent appeared in Wang Lin's eyes and his hand formed a seal, and he shouted, "Mountain!" With that one word, 2 volcanoes suddenly appeared before the 2 charging at Wang Lin. A powerful aura surrounded the area. The 2 old men's expressions changed and they wanted to retreat. However, Wang Lin had already placed his trap. As long as the 2 came within 1,000 feet, they would suffer the attack of mountain crumbles. Not giving these 2 old men any time, Wang Lin immediately shouted while he retreated, "Crumble!" Rumbling sounds echoed and the 2 volcanoes erupted. Large amounts of lava flowed out, creating a destructive force in the void. As the 2 volcanoes exploded, a powerful shockwave spread out. The might of mountain crumble was enough for Wang Lin to hold an absolute advantage among cultivators at his cultivation level. The 2 old men were in a sorry state. They both coughed out blood and were about to retreat. Killing intent flashed through Wang Lin's eyes. When the 2 old men retreated, Wang Lin took a step forward, turned into a ray of light, and appeared before one of them. Then his 2 fingers formed a sword and he stabbed directly between the old man's eyebrows. This old man had already been seriously injured by mountain crumble, and at this moment, his body trembled before exploding. Just before he exploded, he revealed a smile of relief. Seeing this smile, Wang Lin's eyes narrowed and he took a step back. He was about to deal with the other person, however, just at this moment, a terrifying sense of danger enveloped Wang Lin. He no longer cared about killing the other old man and instead instantly retreated to the side. Just after he moved, a monstrous bloodlight filled the void. It was the blood dragon that was injured by the corpse sect's 8 kings. Right now, a small portion of it was already frozen in blue ice, which was a shocking sight. However, its speed hadn't slowed down at all. It was even faster than before as it swept by Wang Lin. The fierce wind caused Wang Lin's body to tremble and a crackling sound could be heard. A crack appeared on his chest, a wound had appeared on his stone avatar. Wang Lin raised his head, but the blood dragon was now far away. The peak Nirvana cleanser old man and the early stage Nirvana cleanser cultivator, who was seriously injured, had disappeared without a trace. A chill came from Wang Lin's body. He was aghast at the situation. However, thinking about the blue eye spreading across the dragon, Wang Lin immediately flew away as soon as possible. With his cunning, he immediately guessed that this blood dragon was injured and was escaping. Therefore, there must have been someone chasing it. Wang Lin didn't want to suddenly meet a cultivator that could chase the blood dragon unprepared. He didn't retreat for long before 8 rays of light passed by and chased after the escaping blood dragon. One of the arrogant-looking middle-aged men looked at Wang Lin and was surprised. However, he didn't stop and disappeared with the other 7. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and his right hand reached out and took out the speed beast skin. He placed it on his chest and immediately dashed forward. His speed reached a peak and he charged straight ahead. He had a vague feeling that Tuo Sen was about to appear. The blood dragon moved quickly and continued to roar. More than half of its body had already been frozen in blue ice, and this made it ferocious. It quickly arrived at the center of the void as fast as it could. After arriving here, the blood dragon coiled up, and chants in the ancient language came from its mouth. An ancient aura appeared and the blood dragon suddenly let out a heaven-shaking roar. As the roar echoed, the power of time burst out from the mouth of the blood dragon and enveloped the entire void. Time was a time law, and it was a law all creatures could grasp, but becoming enlightened in it was very difficult. At most, one's domain merely contains a bit of law of time, and they comprehend it through their domain. In the past on planet Suzaku, Wang Lin met a person with a time domain. At that time, Wang Lin felt the power of that kind of domain. Even Yun Kazi was very concerned about this domain back then. It could be said that on the entire planet of Suzaku, only that person had a domain like that. As the blood dragon's mutter echoed, the power of time from his body increased several-fold. It was way more powerful than a domain and had already become law. This law was set by the blood dragon that used this spell. The law of time enveloped the entire void. There was a group of all heaven cultivators. There were a dozen of them, and as long as they didn't meet any ancient cultivators too strong, they could stand their ground. However, when that power of time passed through them, the weakest of them trembled. He looked like he was in his 20s, even thought that wasn't his actual age. His body began to tremble outside of his control as if a cold energy had appeared in his body. Wrinkles appeared over his skin and soon overlapped with each other. He felt very tired and his cultivation seemed to become stagnant. All of this happened in an instant. The youth was only confused for an instant, but there seemed to be cries coming from afar. The cries seemed to contain intense fear. The youth was startled. He wanted to turn his head, but he found that his body was too stiff, and just turning his head was inconvenient. What's wrong with me? The youth's vision was blurry, like there was a layer of fog in his way. He slowly lifted his head to rub his eyes as if he wanted to rub this fog away. It seemed his rubbing had an effect, as he gained a moment of clear vision. He saw the cultivators around him all back up, their eyes filled with fear and terror. He saw that the junior sister that had been with him for a long time also had a frightened expression. She no longer had any of the tenderness of the past. What he saw last was his right hand, which he had used to rub his eyes, and he was startled. It was a hand filled with wrinkles and spots. The youth's body trembled even more as he lifted his hand to touch his face. He opened his mouth as if he wanted to let out a frightened sound, but that sound was buried with him without any chance of ever seeing the light of day. His eyes lost all vitality. His whole body aged rapidly before his companions. His hair fell off, his teeth rotted, and his bones crumbled until it seemed like his body couldn't even support his skin. His body collapsed into a pile of dust as he died of old age. This strange scene caused the surrounding cultivators to become completely silent, as this was something outside their imagination. However, time was ruthless, so they didn't have time to think before a woman among them also showed signs of aging. Soon, this aging seemed to be infectious, as all the cultivators began to show the same symptoms. It was as if at this moment, the heavens had cancelled their positions as cultivators, cancelled their right to live hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of years. It was as if all those years had descended on their bodies at once. These dozen cultivators were only a tiny part of the void. At this moment, the same scene occurred all around the void. No matter where the cultivator was from, as long as they were in this void, they couldn't escape the law of time. Only the Nirvana Shatterer cultivators could resist it. It was just that, there weren't many Nirvana Shatterer cultivators. Every time a cultivator died to the law of time, an invisible aura would leave their body and charge toward the center of the void. Strands of aura moved through the void, and their speed couldn't be compared to cultivators. These auras seemed to already to be part of the heavens, and in the blink of an eye, they arrived next to the blood dragon at the center of the void. As more cultivators died, even more auras entered the blood dragon. Soon, the blue ice on the dragon began to collapse. It was as if new life was being injected into the dragon as the ice cracked. The 8 king of the corpse sect weren't affected by this law of time at all. They moved closer and closer to the blood dragon. From the opposite direction, Master Flame's Park respectfully followed the old man in black. Although the old man in black didn't look like he was moving fast, every step he took looked like the void below him was shrinking. It was as if this infinite distance was only an inch long. This wasn't spatial bending where he merged with the world, but instead he was shrinking the void. He doesn't need to merge with the world because he was the world, even entire realm was a mere inch. He was in now rush as he walked forward step by step in a certain rhythm. The respect in Master Flamespark's eyes became even stronger. He was following the old man, so he was naturally within the range of this mysterious spell. The moment the power of law enveloped the void, Wang Lin also felt it. However, his body was made of rock, and the age of this rock was impossible to calculate. This power of law surrounded him, but no matter how much time passed without wind blowing by, rock was still rock. As he calmly flew forward, he saw the surrounding cultivators disappear under the law of time. They all vanished without a trace. If we lose our identities as cultivators without spells, we are still just mortals. Wang Lin felt melancholy in his heart, but he didn't slow down. If my original body came, I would be the same as them and become part of the void. Unexpectedly, cultivators that have cultivated for hundreds, thousands, and even tens of thousands of years can't even compare to a piece of rock. Wang Lin shook his head. Seeing everything before him, he suddenly had a new comprehension for the word, Tao. The blood dragons had absorbed the aura of countless cultivators that died to the power of law, and the blue ice on its body finally collapsed. Its large body rose up and it let out a roar at the void. The moment the roar echoed, a vortex 10,000 feet wide appeared and rumbles echoed. A voice came out from the void and slowly spread across the void. Wu, wait for me to come. The moment this voice spoke, the old man in the distance stopped and his gaze became serious. Master Flamespark was silent. This was the second time he heard this voice, but this time the monstrous arrogance was even stronger. This arrogance had contempt for law and disdain toward the heavens. However, Master Flamespark didn't find these words arrogant. The power of the spear outside planet Suzaku proved that this person more than qualified to be this arrogant. The 8 kings of the corpse sect all stopped as they looked at the vortex in the distance and silently pondered. However, soon, varying degrees of greed and ghostly lights appeared in their eyes. Wang Lin also heard this roar. His body stopped and he looked up. His eyes revealed an unyielding gaze. No matter how strong the enemy or difficult the road, as long as Tuo Sen wanted to kill Wang Lin, he would never yield. There are many people that want to kill me, but I'm still living well. Wang Lin revealed a sneer and continued moving forward. This was the truth. These weren't the only cultivators that survived. There were also some Nirvana Shatterer cultivators that survived. After pondering for a bit, they all closed in on this location. The remaining cultivators outside the void fortunately escaped the law of time and survived. There was another location that existed outside his void. It existed in a place that didn't belong to the land of the ancient god because it was the land of the ancient god. This might seem contradictory, but it's a fact. Planet Suzaku merely had the entrance to the land of the ancient god. This was a spatial crack that didn't belong to this space. This crack was extremely large enough to fit the giant body of an 8-star ancient god. Whether it was the void or the trials, they were all, in fact, inside the body of the ancient god. Just like right now, whether it was Wang Lin, the 8 kings of the corpse sect, or the old man in black, they were all currently in the chest of the ancient god. In this quiet spatial crack where the ancient god body had lain for countless years, if one zoomed in on the 4th of the 8 stars, they would see a person sitting there. This person was a middle-aged scholar. He looked ordinary, but he contained an extreme sense of arrogance. It was as if he had been sitting there motionlessly for a very long time. His name was Master Wuji. This video will end here.